Hey everyone, Sue here from 1A Auto, and today we're going to be doing a clutch job on an 06 Honda Element. So excited to do it. A couple of good notes that we're going to need, and we're going to show you some specialty tools too. So if you need any parts for your car, click on the link below and head on over to 1AAuto.com. So to do a clutch job, there's three really important parts and tools, shall I say, that you're going to need. They're shop tools usually. You can rent these from a rental company or even a parts store. Sometimes they'll rent this equipment out. So first things first, obviously, is a Trainee jack. Now, I have a post lift I'm going to be using if you're going to be doing it on the ground. They do make Trainee jacks that are on a jack that slides underneath. This is for a gas tank extension on this. We're going to be using this to hold the subframe up because the subframe will be coming down on this vehicle. So I'm going to use that to support the subframe. When I lower it down, easier to take it off the jack. And then the last thing, really important, is an engine bracket. This is an engine support bracket. It's going to go from one fender well to the other, and it's going to hold the engine up inside when we take down that subframe. So these tools are extremely important to do the job. So make sure you know where you can rent these or have accessibility to them. First step I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the battery and the battery tray. So just grab the battery and lift it right out. Take your tray out. Next, we're going to take this whole airbox assembly out in the airlet box and set it aside. Oh boy, can't see. Disconnect the lower housing, 10mm socket. Now we have to take the battery actual tray out that mounts to the body. Take off the negative battery cable that's attached to it and the harness. And there are 2 bolts up here and then 2 bolts down below. Now we just have to detach the negative battery cable bracket right here, and then there's 2 bolts that you can see out in the open to remove this metal tray. Just had to use a pair of pliers to help. These have that little plastic tab on them that you push your finger down, pull the tab out away from the slotted hole, and work that cable off. Okay. Next, we're going to undo the shifter linkage. You've got 2 cables here. You've got this one and the one over here. So we're going to take these pins out, little cotter pins on both of them, right there and there. And then we're going to take the mounting bolts out of the aluminum bracket to the transmission. Pull those aside. There you go. So if your cotter pins are as original as these ones are and rotted, it's not a big deal. I'm just going to get as much as I can out of the way, see if I can get this washer off. And then once this cable is off of that bracket, it's such an easy metal. We'll just take a small drill bit and we'll just drill that rest of that right out of there. This one's really bad. So the bushing's going to stay on this pulley, this shifter on this bracket. The bushing's just going to stay on there. We can work with that. Now we're going to disconnect the 3 bolts through this shifter bracket. Now we can set this up inside this fender well and get it out of the way. Now we're going to take the actual slave cylinder and detach it from the transmission block. There's a clip that holds the steel line right here onto a Trainee bracket. I'm just going to pinch that plastic, pop that through, and break it. And that's what happens. So now we just have to disconnect this part of the bracket and The hydraulic line to the slave cylinder will be free from the transmission. Now we can set that aside for exam. We'll look at that later. Ground cable, we have to disconnect that from the actual transmission. Now we're going to disconnect any electrical items you see attached to the transmission all the way around. Now we're going to take the actual two brackets off. There's a nut here, and the stud comes out of the transmission, and then a bolt over here. I'm going to take those three off. I don't want to take just the center bolt out because this whole thing has to clear the side of the body. And the same with this bracket. This bracket holds the air box. So there's three bolts on the other side. I'm going to take those out so this bracket's out of the way. So once we lift it up and to work on this, we can drop it just a little bit to clear the side of this frame without anything extending up. Now I'm going to undo the actual bolts that mount the transmission bell housing to the engine block. There's two of them up here, right underneath this area. Guess I'm going to have to get a real gun. And that is a 17mm socket. Now I'm going to undo the mounts to the actual transmission. Now comes time to put this engine support bracket, and it rests right there. Loosen this up. So now we have our engine support in. It's mounted on both fender wells, and I've got the support chain. There is no engine bracket or any open bolt holes. So I took this chain and I wrapped it around this aluminum housing. There's not a lot of weight on it, and it's taut, and we're going to see how it acts. Now we're going to raise it up and take the tires off. Now we're going to take the front plastic shield down all the way over, just by taking the body clips out. Now we're going to take the front drive shaft, detach it from the actual front transfer case. This is a 12.10mm socket, and it might not be easy to get to or easy to take off. Now we could just detach that, just set it aside. Actually, this bracket's going to end up holding it up because when the subframe comes down, that's going to end up stopping it right there. Now we're going to take this actual motor mount center bolt out. Now with the pry bar, I'm just going to lift that up just enough so I can use my hand and take this bolt out of here. Now we're going to take the front mount bolt out. Now we're going to remove the actual ball joints. So I can take the castle nuts off and the cotter pins out, and we're going to take them out of the actual control arms. So now I'm going to use the Trainee jack with the gas tank attachment on top here. And I'm going to bring this up so that it rests on the actual subframe and support it. And then I can undo my 4 main bolts and lower the subframe down with no problem. I'm going to take a marker and I'm going to mark where my subframe meets the actual body. I want to draw a line straight down and one over here. I'm going to do this to all 4 corners. And I might just go like that. Because it needs an alignment after, because once you remove that frame, you can throw the alignment off. But I want to put it as close as possible so that there's no trouble driving to the alignment shop. After I made my marks, I've got a 17mm socket, and I'm going to let all 4 of these bolts down. Now we're going to take this housing off where the oil pan meets the transmission housing, and this motor mount. So I got to find a safe place to pry on this because I need to take it down. Now we're going to take this side axle out, driver's side axle, out of the actual transmission. There's 6 bolts total holding the transmission to the actual block. We have one facing this way in the front, the bottom of the starter bolt, so I'll do it as we go. There's 1, 2. Now we already got the other 2 up on top, which makes 4. Then we're going to come back here. 5. And then there's 1 right in there, so I'm going to need to get an extension. Okay. And then the 6th bolt is right here. There we go. Okay, we got the front. Just gotta get the rear now. There it is. And this beautiful thing is in the way. So this is coming down. Yeah, that flywheel will not go past that. I'll lower the jack. Now the transmission's down and we have the actual pressure plate exposed. We're going to unbolt the pressure plate. There's 6 bolts going around, so we can remove the pressure plate and the disc and see the condition of the flywheel. This is a 12-point 10mm socket. Now, there's pins here holding it in. I'm just going to place my bolts down, get a little pry bar. Make sure you hold the disc plate on the inside. You don't want that falling out. Try not to. It's kind of a... See all the disc falling out. Wow. This is our pressure plate, and this is our clutch disc plate. We are going to get the flywheel surfaced. Good news is there's no heat cracks. It looks in good shape, should be fine and able to turn. Now we're gonna take the flywheel down and we're gonna loosen up, we'll take all the bolts down, and it's a 12-point socket, 17 millimeter. Now grab firmly and just kind of twist it off. And there's our flywheel. Now when we're preparing for the new clutch and after the flywheel's been turned, you always want to clean this backing plate. You want to get rid of all this old clutch disc. And you want to examine the rear main seal and make sure we have no leaks, because now's the time to change it. Now we have the transmission on the stand. We can actually see the pilot bearing. This is what a throwout bearing, shall I say. Throwout bearing is located on the end of the clutch fork, and that's exactly what the job does. It goes in and out and spins. In this one, you can hear the bearing. It was on its way out, so it's a good thing that we're changing this, and you can see all the old disc powder. So we're going to clean this up. Couple things we're going to do once this is clean and take that throwout bearing off. We're going to examine the shaft on that aluminum transmission spindle. So to take this off, I'm going to bring it forward, just bring it and twist it. See if we can get that clip undone. There we go. So that is your throwout bearing right there. It's in bad shape. But this is the part that we want to look at right here. You can take the fork out. There's a pin in the back here that it's located on. Just quick disconnect, because you want to clean that up too, because you're going to put some grease in there when you reassemble it. Now we need to really clean that up. So we're looking for any burrs, cracks, roughness to it, because you want that throwout bearing to slide smoothly on that aluminum shaft. Looks pretty good. I might take a thin coat of emery cloth, and I'm just going to skim it lightly by hand. I feel some roughness to it. And then we'll clean it up and recheck it. So now we're going to remove the pilot spacer. Sometimes there's a pilot bearing in there. This particular model design, it's a sleeve. It's just a steel sleeve to stop the input shaft from bottoming out on the crank. So we don't really have a puller, so we're just going to use it's like a hook, a slide hammer hook. So you pull on it and you just tap here and work your way around. There we go. Here we have our brand new clutch kit from 1A Auto, and here we have the clutch that we just took out of our 06 Honda Element. It comes with this is the actual pressure plate, the disc, throwout bearing, and a pilot spacer. Our kit comes with a new pressure plate, a disc plate, throwout bearing, and a new pilot spacer. We also come with the guide tool and the grease for the throwout bearing shaft. The disc plate is measured to manufacturer's specs. Get a nice smooth surface. Comes with the same exact pilot holes that you need for the guide pins. And the fact that it comes with this nice alignment tool makes it easy installation. If you need this part or any other part for your car, click on the link below and head on over to 1aauto.com. We're going to apply the grease that comes with the clutch kit. It's a little tear off. You don't need a lot of it, you just need a dab. And we'll just put it all around. See, it is not grease that you would think for grease bearings. It's a specialty grease that is really thin. They don't want it to be thick. You don't want it to bunch up and cause the throw-out bearing to get stuck on the shaft. That's why they limit the amount, and it's a special temperature type of grease. We want some on that pivot point too. Now we're going to put the fork in. These metal prongs is what holds that on that bearing, that little pivot point. So I'm going to slide this back through there. Put my throw-out bearing on. Line that up. When I feel it's lined up, just going to push on it. Let it snap right into place. Now you'll see the fork is sticking out here. And this is how it works. Our slave cylinder will be attached right here. And the plunger goes right there on a hydraulic pressure, pushes the fork back and forth. Now we're going to install our pilot bushing. This is their version, Honda's version. Instead of a bearing on this particular model car, I'm checking to make sure there's no burrs in there. It's a nice smooth surface. It does have a split to it, so it will, adapt to the size of the hole quite quickly. And now I just want it to go in a little bit more, so I have a brass punch. And hopefully I can catch the edge enough and tap it in. See, that's off center, just a hair, a little bit more. There we go. Perfect. Now let's get the flywheel. Okay, so now we're going to take our flywheel, place it up in there. We're going to line up the bolt holes. There is only one way for this to go on, and I found it. By hand, you want to put all of the crank bolts for the flywheel on, because they can be off center, and if they are, then you have to rearrange the pattern. I'm going to use my battery operated gun because I just want these to bottom out because I have to torque them to the manufacturer's specs. So 17 millimeter 12-point socket, just bottom them out in a crisscross pattern. So the torque specs for the manufacturer, torque specs for this flywheel is 76 foot-pounds for these crank flywheel bolts. I've already taken liberty and I put a 19 millimeter with a breaker bar on the other side, so that way the crank won't turn while I'm torquing down the flywheel bolts. Start on the bottom. Same crisscross pattern. Okay, that's all of them. Now just double check real quick. This one you don't need to do a cross pattern. Now we're going to install the clutch disc. You can see there's two sides to this disc. Manufacturer, almost on every clutch disc, you'll see the side right here, it says T/M side. That's pretty much abbreviation for transmission side. Some of them will say flywheel side or other side of flywheel, but you want the side with the hi-hat facing the pressure plate. So we're going to put the disc up in there, hold it. Now we're going to put our pressure plate on. We have to line up the pressure plate with those pins. We've got those guide pins. So there's one there, there's one on the top. and one on the bottom. There's different stages. I know it's right because I've already tried this and I got it to fit. Both that one. Let's see if this one will line up. There you go. Okay, now we're going to use our alignment tool that came with the kit. You can see the grooves on it. That fits right inside that clutch disc. And then the center, the staging piece fits right inside that pilot bushing. So you're gonna line that up, line that pressure plate up, and put the pressure plate bolts in. I'm gonna put a couple of them finger tight down because I don't want that disc to slide out. And then we're gonna torque them in a crisscross pattern to make sure that we don't damage the splines or the disc. We want even pressure all the way around. And now I can let go. And you'll see that this is centered perfectly, so when the transmission comes up and the shaft of the transmission goes in, we don't have to dance it around to move it. Now we're going to tighten our pressure plate to the flywheel. All the bolts are in. This is another 12-point socket style. It is a 10 millimeter, and we have to go in the star pattern. It's a must on this. You do not want to, you can watch closely with the camera. You might see the finger start to go down as the outside of the plate gets torqued down. So it's important that you equal pressure all the way around. I'm just trying to get the basis of it centered. Okay, now I'm going to go around. Okay, let's torque it. 19 foot-pounds. Here we go. Now we can take our tool up. Before we put our transmission up, I'm going to put just a little bit of copper anti-seize on this because it's aluminum against aluminum and in where the guide pins go. So if someone has to do a transmission again or take it out apart for some reason, they don't have the difficulty that I ran into with it frozen to the actual casing. Just a little coat, that's all I want to do. And that will actually work for many years. Okay. Now we can start putting our bolts in. I'm going to start with that starter bolt first, threading everything by hand. We don't want to cross thread. It's an aluminum housing. That went in nice and smooth. So we put our 4 bolts in on the bottom, and we still have the 2 on the top that we'll get after. There we go, right there. I'm going to take full advantage of the subframe being gone so I can attach my drivetrain without the subframe in the way. So I'm going to put my 4 bolts in, then I'm going to put the axle in. Just checking the tightness. Now we'll put the axle in. I'm going to put up the aluminum bracket between the housing and the oil pan. Before we put our subframe up, we're going to put that motor mount back up. Okay, lined up really good. I'm going to put this mount middle bolt through because it's easier to move it around, center it. And I'm going to put the back one in. I'm going to line up the subframe. Just got to wheel it around a little. You can get the bolts to start before you push the frame all the way up. It'll be easier. I put a little penetrating spray on the actual bolts. I don't want to put anti-seize or anything like that. Might have to get a pry bar and just move this around a little bit. Now you really want to make sure these are tight, and like I said, whenever you drop the subframe, you need to get an alignment after. So I'm going to make sure these are tight all the way around, drop my trainee jack, and then work on the top. Now we're going to put the lower ball joint castle nuts on. We're going to torque these to 43 to 51 foot-pounds. And don't forget, always use new cotter pins. Put my new cotter pin through. Now we're going to put the trainee mount back on so that we can take the engine support off. I'm going to line everything up, start it by hand. I'm not going to tighten that aluminum bracket until I put the actual mount in and attach it to the fender well. So make sure you get the mount nice and tight up against the fender well. Now I'm going to put the center bolt in because I have the availability to move this aluminum bracket around. So I want to center that. Now I'm going to tighten up the bracket on the trainee. Now we can take the engine support tool out of the way so we can work a little bit easier. Now you can't forget the two upper trainee bolts to the housing. So there's 6 total, don't forget, and there's 4 down below, just the 2 up here on the top. Can't physically see them really, you have to just feel for them and place them in. Don't forget to connect any connectors that you had to take apart. There's really only 2 on this transmission, but before I put the shifter cables back on, I definitely want to put this top sensor back together. And we have one down here. Now I'm going to put the negative cable on. We're going to put the shifter cables back, and they have that housing. That housing has 3 bolts. So let's get this banjo style over there. Line up that housing. You get 3 long bolts. The longest one goes in the center. The other 2 are the same length. I'll just tighten those down. Just making sure that they're tight. Feels good. So now we have the 2 shifter cables, and we have the plastic piece that goes on first, and then the metal washer, and new cotter pins. So you're gonna have to push that bushing and fish that cotter pin through. I'm gonna use a pair of pliers, and we're just gonna really squeeze that bushing in. Hopefully enough that I can get this cotter pin to start. So you want the cotter pin to go through, and then so you can peel the pieces up, make like a smiley face. That's what you want to do, so that that bushing does not come undone. So remember this one, the bushing itself, the rubber bushing was stuck on the shifter lever, so we have to like squeeze this cable banjo style thing over. So I'm going to actually spray that with a silicone spray to see if I can get it to be slippery enough, and that hopefully I can get it to sit. And so, a little patience. Just gotta get the rubber bushing lip to come over the top. Like that. So now we're gonna put the plastic bushing first, and the metal one, and then our new cotter pin. See if we can squeeze that down. Beautiful. Now we're going to put the bracket on the back of the transmission. This is for the air breather box. It does have 3 bolts. Ours unfortunately was so corroded it broke off. So now I'm using it as an actual guide pin. So I'm going to put the 2 remaining bolts in and then tighten those down. Now that that bracket's tight, we can put in the battery tray. Now we can put in the battery tray. There's 3 bolts on the top and 2 bolts on the bottom. And actually one of the bolts has a cutout, so it's like a guide. So you can actually start that one by hand, and that'll help you hold it in place. Let's get the 2 bolts down on the bottom. Let's put the air filter box back in. Before we do that though, I want to remind myself to hook up where all these cables go. So there's the positive cable goes on that bracket there, and there's one right here. And then the negative cable, well shucks, I just kind of did that. So that goes there. Negative cable goes on this clip right here. Okay. Now we can get the airbox down in there. So you have two over here on the engine side and one on the right side in front of the master cylinder. Place the battery down. You just want the battery hold down snug. You don't want to clamp it down really tough. The battery is not moving because you don't want to bend the lead plates inside. So that's a key note. Now the airbox cover. Okay, this is, make sure we take that out. We also have that vent hose that went down here. Let's get the pliers on that before we put the airbox on. There we go. Line the airbox lid up. I've got the vent breather over here. Make sure your cables are all in place. We have a air temp. Okay. Now I can tighten this clamp down on the throttle body and the airbox cover. Now we're ready to do the last thing. That's put the negative battery cable on. Make sure it's down all the way. 10mm wrench. Okay, ready to start her up. Neutral. See where the clutch grabs? Wow, that far off the floor. That's perfect. Nice. Goes through all the gears. Last but not least, we're going to put this shield up. Then we're ready to go for a road test. Here we go.
Thanks for watching. Visit 1AAuto.com for quality auto parts shipped to your door, the place for DIY auto repair. And if you enjoyed this video, please click the subscribe button.